Hello everyone, so this is the first step of the VBC Wildfire DO9 kit. As you can see, I'm going to do this straight from the package. There's no preparation whatsoever. It's just going to be the same way that you guys would be building it when you first receive your kit. So, step one, you got your parts here. Take some scissors, cut open the package, get the contents out, even with the aluminum pieces as well. Even though step one doesn't require this, I'm going to show you why I pull out these pieces at such an early stage. Okay, so here we have it. We have some of our aluminum bits, but we have our main carbon fiber lower chassis and our upper deck here. Now the thing is, when I do my builds, I make sure that I'm building my car kits on a nice flat surface. It could be a setup board, or what I particularly like to use is a nice flat sheet of glass. It doesn't have to be a huge sheet, but you want something that is, big enough to accommodate the size of the car. And I have this nice, maybe 3mm thick plate of glass, and it does the trick. And there's important reasons to it. It helps you to check for flatness of the parts. Especially before your build, you want to check to make sure that all your aluminum components, such as your bulkheads and all these other aluminum bits and pieces, are machine flat. But most importantly, you want to make sure that your carbon fiber main chassis is flat and your upper deck. Okay, and so it's quite easy to do that. All you have to do is, just examine the chassis plate just to make sure that there's no burrs or anything on the actual holes, and just simply place the chassis flat on the plate of glass. If it just kind of flops down, sticks to the glass, then you have a nice flat chassis to work on. Okay, so as you can see here, the chassis sticks to the glass surface, and so that's a good sign. If at any point that you say have a chassis that's not sticking to the glass, or if you notice that there's a rocking motion in any of the corners, then that's a sign that the chassis, the carbon fiber, has a tweak in it. This isn't common anymore, but there are some instances where straight from the manufacturer there could be some issues with the carbon fiber. But usually when this does happen is usually if you build the car, you go race it, you have a crash, a really big crash that really jars the main chassis. That can generate a tweak in the chassis. And I've done that before. I think in my previous videos, maybe last year, I had a Yokomo chassis that had a bit of a tweak in it. And that was due to a hard crash. But 90% of the time, I can't say 100% of the time, a lot of the carbon fiber main chassis are usually perfectly flat. Okay, so we checked that. That's perfect. You could also just go ahead and check to make sure that all the holes have been machined properly before you start building the chassis up. Now, also same with the upper deck. You want to make sure that there's nothing strange going on with it. As you can see, everything seems to be flat and true, so there's no problems whatsoever here. What's interesting about the upper deck here with the VBC DO9 kit is that the actual edges around the mounting points have been rounded, which prevents direct contact with the bulkheads, which can ultimately lead to like unwanted tweak when you're assembling the car. Okay, so there you go. Now check the aluminum bulkheads. Everything seems to be flat, no rocking whatsoever. You could just move your fingers around the bulkheads. Yeah, everything's all good there. Everything seems to be flat there. You can even check these components just to make sure. That's good. Well, it's going to be a little bit difficult with this one, but you could probably figure something out with the motor mount. Yeah, the motor mount looks good. And your brace looks good. All right, and so there you have it. We've checked the components here, the main components that will be mounting to the main chassis plate. Now, one thing is, in step 1, it says to sand and CA the main chassis. I've talked to a lot of guys, and they say they do away with this. They don't bother with sanding the chassis and sealing it. Now, the reason for this is when you're checking your ride height, you want to have an accurate edge on your chassis when you're measuring your ride height. And so if you start to like sand the edges down, the rounded edges might not give you an accurate representation of the ride height that you're actually measuring. So I usually just leave everything the way it is. Now in step 1, it shows the shock towers. Now you can go ahead and put CA glue on the shock towers. That will add like a nice aesthetically pleasing look to the towers. A nice little pro look to it. So you can do that with the shock towers, no problem. But generally, I just leave the upper deck and the lower main chassis as is. I don't bother with that. And I've never had any issues with the main chassis chipping or flaking after hard crashes. It's usually pretty good. So moving on to step 2 and step 3. I already have a video for this. I don't think the DO8 to the DO9, the differential has changed. But I'll do another build video on this later on. So my next video, I will do the assembly for step 3 and let you know what to do about that. Okay, bye-bye.